Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really profound, honestly super practical piece of ancient wisdom. We're looking at a text that speaks directly to anyone who's ever just felt overwhelmed by the sheer noise and stress of everyday life. We're unlocking the Atthakanagara Sutta from the Buddhist Pali Canon. Think of it as a beautiful architectural blueprint for finding absolute inner peace. So if you're looking for a highly structured, totally logical approach to freeing the mind, well, you are in exactly the right place. Okay. Let's dive right into this. I want you to imagine, for a second, being inside a burning house. The flames, they represent all our daily anxieties, our persistent stress, that whole relentless cycle of suffering. Now, to escape to safety, all you need is one single viable exit, right? This striking metaphor was actually spoken by a man named Dasama thousands of years ago to express his own profound relief. He was literally just looking for one way out of the fire, and to his absolute amazement, he was handed 11. So, here's our roadmap for the journey today. First, we'll look at seeking the deathless path, then the 4 doors of form, followed by the 4 doors of boundless mind, and the 3 doors of the formless. After that, we'll uncover the master key, which is impermanence, and finally wrap up with the 11 treasures of peace. Let's start right off with Section 1, Seeking the Deathless Path, and Dasama's quest for the ultimate answer. So our story begins with a householder named Dasama from the city of Atthaka. He wasn't a monk, he was just an ordinary guy with ordinary duties who had traveled to Pataliputra for business. But while he was there, this really deep spiritual hunger drove him to seek out Venerable Ananda, one of the Buddha's most knowledgeable disciples. Dasama actually tracked Ananda down at the bamboo village in Vesali because he was driven by a very specific, honestly very urgent question. Now, to really get his question, we need to understand what Dasama was actually searching for. He was looking for amarta, which is often translated as the deathless. And just to be clear, we're not talking about physical immortality here. It represents the ultimate psychological and spiritual liberation. It's this profound, completely unshakable inner peace that is entirely free from the agonizing cycle of worldly suffering. It is basically that safe ground completely outside the burning house. So Dasama sits down with Ananda and asks this incredibly focused question. He asks, is there one single condition taught by the Buddha where if a person is truly diligent and resolute, their unliberated mind becomes fully liberated? He essentially looks at him and says, look, give me the bottom line. What is the one singular path I need to wipe out all these mental impurities and just achieve ultimate freedom? And Venerable Ananda's answer is just stunning. He doesn't just say, yep, here's the one way. He tells Dasama that there are actually 11 completely distinct paths to achieve this exact same ultimate freedom. It's like if your mind doesn't naturally incline toward one method, hey, no worries. You've got 10 backups ready to go. Let's move to and see how this builds, starting with the very first category Ananda lays out. Section 2, 4 doors of form, or the Rupa Jhanas. These are states of deep, deep meditative concentration that you achieve by focusing the mind on a physical object or concept. Ananda breaks these down into 4 progressive levels of deepening tranquility. The first jhana is basically stepping away from unwholesome thoughts, and it's characterized by this sudden burst of joy and happiness, so, some active thinking still remains. Then, as the mind settles further, you enter the second jhana. Here, active thought completely ceases, and it's replaced by pure, unified concentration and a real inner confidence. Moving into the third jhana, even that intense joy kind of fades out into a much more refined, mindful equanimity and a really profound physical comfort. And finally, the fourth jhana is this state of pure, bright equanimity and mindfulness, completely transcending both pleasure and pain. So each of these 4 states acts as a distinct door. But what if focusing inward just isn't really your strongest suit? Well, that brings us to Section 3, 4 doors of boundless mind, also known as the apamanas. Instead of drawing the mind down to a single point, these practices actually expand the mind outward in all directions. Ananda lists these 4 limitless social attitudes as completely viable doors to liberation. First up is metta, which is radiating limitless loving kindness to all beings everywhere, absolutely zero hostility. Second is karuna, or limitless compassion for those who are suffering. Third is mudita, which is this limitless empathetic joy for the success and happiness of others. And fourth is upekkha, limitless equanimity, just maintaining a totally balanced mind regardless of whatever external circumstances are thrown at you. And the text really emphasizes projecting these states above, below, across, literally everywhere, making the mind totally expansive and immeasurable. So boom, that's 4 more doors right there. Next up, Ananda introduces the final category, and this takes us into some incredibly abstract territory. Section 4, 3 doors of the formless, or the Arupa Jhanas. These are super advanced meditative states where the mind actually transcends all perceptions of physical form entirely. In these states, the practitioner is moving way past physical reality. First, by realizing that space itself has absolutely no limits, they enter the base of infinite space. Then, surpassing even that, they realize the consciousness that's actually perceiving that space is also limitless, which brings them into the base of infinite consciousness. Finally, transcending even consciousness, they focus on the total absence of everything, entering the base of nothingness. These three highly refined, formless states bring our grand total up to 11 distinct doors. And this brilliantly illustrates the grand architecture of Ananda's answer. You've got 4 states grounded in form, 4 states expanding the boundless mind, and 3 states resting in the formless. Together, the whole shebang makes up the 11 doors to the deathless. But, and this is a big but, having the doors one thing, actually opening it is a completely different story.
Which brings us to the absolute most vital parts of the sutta. Section 5, the master key, impermanence, and the crucial insight mechanism. See, there's a bit of a hidden twist in Ananda's teaching here. Simply reaching one of these 11 deeply peaceful meditative states is actually not enough to achieve ultimate liberation. If you just rest there, sure, you'll experience incredible peace, but eventually you'll fall right back into the cycle of suffering. You absolutely need a mechanism to unlock the door.
The text draws a really stark contrast here. On one side, you have the mere experience of the meditative state, which, don't get me wrong, feels wonderful, but it is ultimately temporary. On the other side is the critical insight, realizing that even this incredibly exalted, peaceful state is conditioned. It was constructed by causes, and therefore, it has to be impermanent. It's this act of realization, not just passively chilling in the peace, that actually leads to ultimate liberation. So the crucial point is perfectly summarized in this exact phrase, which Ananda repeats for every single one of the 11 doors. Whatever is conditioned and constructed is impermanent and subject to cessation. When the practitioner is deep inside the jhana, they have to apply this insight. They observe the supreme peace of the state and realize, okay, even this is subject to ending. This profound letting go, that is the master key, literally turning in the lock. And when that key turns, what actually happens? Well, the realization destroys the asavas. Asavas are these deep-seated mental effluents, basically the root defilements and ignorant tendencies that superglue our minds to the cycle of stress and suffering. By seeing that even the absolute highest bliss is impermanent, the mind just stops clinging to absolutely everything. The asavas are entirely eradicated. The unliberated mind becomes fully free. The practitioner finally steps through the door. Let's move into our final section now. Section 6, 11 Treasures of Peace and Dasama's Final Offering. Let's look at how Dasama actually reacted to this absolute masterclass in meditation and insight. As you can probably guess, Dasama was just absolutely overwhelmed with gratitude. He famously declared, "A man seeking one hidden treasure finds 11 at once." He realized that while followers of other teachings might search endlessly to find wealth to honor their teachers, he had been handed the ultimate wealth just by sitting there and listening. In his immense joy, Dasama gathered the monks of Pataliputta and Vesali, personally served them this exquisite feast, offered pairs of robes to every single one of them, gave a special set to Ananda, and even funded the construction of 500 monastic dwellings. Talk about gratitude, right? Dasama found his way out of the burning house, and the beautiful thing is, he left the blueprint behind for all of us. We've seen the highly structured paths of intense focus, the expansive paths of boundless compassion, and the really profound depths of the formless, all of them unlocked by the simple, radical truth of impermanence. So I'll leave you with this question to reflect on. Which of these 11 doors resonates the most with you? And which one will you use to find your own ultimate peace in our chaotic world?